Welcome to the Publish Creator Podcast, the show where books become brands and creators become CEOs. I'm your host, Rodney Washington, a book coach, brand strategist, and founder of the Published and Thriving movement. If you're an author, coach, or content creator with a book, or even just an idea, this podcast will show you how to turn it into a thriving offer, a loyal community, and a lasting legacy. Each week, I'll share real-world strategies, inspiring success stories, and behind-the-scenes coaching to help you build momentum, whether you're just publishing your first book or ready to expand into courses, memberships, and more. Because publishing isn't the end of the journey, it's the launch pad. Let's build your brand, multiply your impact, and create the freedom you deserve. Enjoy today's episode. What if you didn't need to write another book? What if the opportunity was already sitting inside the one you've already published? That's what I'm talking about today in this episode of the podcast with my client, Aleta Hodge, and her book, Indiana Avenue, and the opportunities that she is creating not only for herself, but for the audience and the community that she's most committed to building an experience for. You're going to learn about that and so much more in this episode of the podcast. So sit back, take a listen, and enjoy the episode. So welcome back to another episode of the Publish Creator Podcast. I'm Rodney Washington, your host. And I am here today with someone that I have had the opportunity and the blessing to be able to work with for the last several months. Her name is Aleta Hodge, and Aleta is the author of the book Indiana Avenue. Actually, let me get it so you can actually see it. So it's called Indiana Avenue, Life and Musical Journey from 1915 to 2015. This is the second edition of her book. Now, Aleta is an author and a cultural preservationist, as well as a playwright, in addition to her authoring. And authoring is her second book. She has another book called The Life and Times of Noble Sissle. We're going to talk a little bit about that as well. But what I wanted to, besides everyone that I work with, this is the part of the working process that I love the most, is the conversation that we get to have after a lot of the heavy lifting has been done. And the journey to revamp an existing work that Aleta already had and update it to present time. I think the original version was published 9 years ago. To have the new version of it now has been just a joy to see it go, just to see it get this facelift, if you will. The core content is still there, but just to update it. And I also, one of the reasons why I'm talking about this as well is because if you have already written a book, it may not necessarily mean that you have to write a new one. It may mean that it might be time to update it. So that's also an option to think about as well. But as I said, I always love having these conversations because I want to, help you all as you're watching to get inspired by what in this conversation, what Aleta's going to share. And also to inspire you to think broader about your book project, because we're working on things beyond just the book. So first, I just want to say thank you so much for joining me today, Aleta. How are you?
Oh, great. Thank you very much for having me.
Absolutely, absolutely. So tell us a little about yourself. I know I've kind of did a soft introduction of you, but tell us a little bit more about yourself and how you came to work on authoring now two books.
Well, I started writing when I was probably about 8 years old. I had a lot of relatives out of state, and when they would send me presents or letters, my mother would force me to write thank you notes to them. Started my writing, and then in high school, I was on the Wednesday staff of the Shortridge High School Daily Echo. And it was the only daily newspaper for a high school in the country. And so that was my first experience as a journalist, and it was wonderful. And even during tumultuous times of high school, they never censored any of our work. The staff, the teachers, or the more senior students. To see that censorship and banning is popular today, at least I had a good start, an open door. And then I just continued writing in college. And so after I'd been back to Indianapolis, I started remembering all the stories that my father, uncle, and aunts told me about the famed Indiana Avenue, one of the great jazz music hubs like New Orleans, Kansas City, Memphis, Chicago, and Harlem, and wondering, well, why hasn't it been highlighted and why has it been ignored? Since we're the crossroads of America geographically, and the two main highways going north and south, 65, and then 70 going east and west. It's like it was just within a few miles of these places. So you can't say that it was hidden. But I enjoyed interviewing about at least 35 musicians or the family members of musicians who, if they had passed away. And so I met with people in their homes. Wes Montgomery's daughter and son, Tony and Robert, and I met his widow and the Webster family and the Hamptons, J.J. Johnson, just on and on and on. So that was fun. So, in a way, my hobby, my interest is music, but it's also just it's weaving a story with the music and the history of our city. And so I was blessed to live just a few blocks from Indiana Avenue and also near Crispus Attucks High School, which was the breeding ground of all these famous musicians. So, yeah.
Wonderful. Now, in addition to the Indiana Avenue book, and I love the story behind you have a passion for something, a topic, and you were able to actually go to the source of the inspiration and actually have those conversations with them. And I love that a lot because a lot of times I think as writers, we feel like that it all needs to come from us originally without ever doing sort of that conversations, having those meetings with the people that are inspiring the work that we're producing.
Mhm, mhm.
And so for others listening to this, what is your approach to even approaching people to be featured in your book? And if someone is maybe trepidatious about it, was there any? I know you have a history and a background and a presence in that community. Is there any recommendations that you have for people listening that might want to start interviewing people as a source of inspiration for their book? Now, you know what's funny? You may be asking yourself, why is he holding this book? Well, I'm holding it and it's not even finished yet. But you know what's something I want to tell you? It's already creating conversations, opportunities, it's creating podcast interviews, collaborations, and new relationships. And that's exactly the point. You see, most people think they have to wait until the book is done before they can start benefiting from it. But I believe actually the opposite. The moment you decide to build your authority, share your ideas, and create opportunities around your message that you've already started, okay? That's what the Entrepreneur Decision, this book that I'm currently working on right now, is all about. Now, as I said, this book is actually a mock up. It's not even finished yet, but it's already creating opportunities for me. So if you're a coach, a consultant, a speaker, a creator, or an expert with a message to share, I'd love to give you a preview. If you'd like to download a free sample chapter using the link in the show notes or use the QR code that's on the screen, because I can guarantee you it might completely change the way you think about books. Now, again, get back to the episode that you're watching today, and don't forget to download a sample chapter of this preview book that's coming up and the strategy that I'm using behind this book, which is actually completely blank on the inside. See you on the other side.
Well, I always want to, you know, connect with the source of information. I don't want to go to a third party. I do a lot of archival research, especially with the Noble Sissle book, since that was he was born in 1889, um, um, so I always want to go to the source, and so people think that I'm a musician. I can't sing a lick. I played a clarinet in elementary school and didn't go any further. But I'm a music appreciator. I'm in the audience and I'm buying tickets. And so this cultural awareness as a young child, beginning at probably 4 years old, just always inspired me, no matter where I lived, out in the San Francisco Bay Area, in Chicago, New Jersey. If there was a musical, if there was dance, dance folklorico, Harlem dance troupe, Alvin Ailey, I was there. And as a student or right out of school, I didn't have a lot of money, but that's been my cultural connection and my source of joy. And you see a lot of people who are depressed and down, and it's like music is universal. And so, um, when I lived in California, I would go to dance shows that were with Thai people or Indian dancers or what have you. And, I just have that curiosity. And so, that's what I choose to do in my spare time. um, so, but just really trying also to understand what the musician was like as a person. And so many of them were really live characters. And so their family relayed that. So,
What would you say out of everyone that you featured in the book? Is there one particular individual that you were the most uh, taken in or most fascinated by once you learn more about their story and their history?
it's kind of hard to say because so many of them were just, riveting personalities. Um, Number one, all of them had to overcome racism, sexism. Many of them uh, were low income, and they overcame all of those barriers and became international musicians, not just in jazz, but blues, gospel, opera, classical, and they traveled the world. And so there were so many of them. Rosemary Gore, Angela Brown, Wes Montgomery. Um, One of my mentors was Professor Larry Ridley from the Rutgers Livingston School of Music in New Jersey. And um, we spoke on the phone for almost 3 years, and he kept saying, well, no one has written a definitive book about Indiana Avenue. Books that are out there, they're just like picture books, photo books. Nobody's told the story of what it was like there. And so he said, you need to write this book. And so I did.
Wonderful, wonderful. Yeah, so and what I love about, and you and I have had so many, conversations about this when you and I first connected, and the story, we're in a time period where it definitely is looking like the past is trying to or is in its own way repeating itself. And of course, what we don't learn from does repeat itself. And we're at a time, you talked about book banning a moment ago, and we were talking about the importance and why I personally am so passionate about books in and of themselves. I know I talk about content a lot, but I'm also think the most prized piece of content that we could ever have, and I think the most respected and, dare I say, the most feared piece of content that we could ever have is a book. And being able to, like you said, document these stories, sort of this gentleman giving you almost like a marching order or a clarion call to go out and produce this. And thank God that you did, because perhaps it will inspire others to follow suit in their own genre, whatever that may be. And so I just want to say this as a teaching moment for everyone listening, is that if there's something that's put on your heart to do, or dare I say you get the tap on the shoulder to do it, take that as a sign that this is something that you probably should pursue and
Right,
do.
right.
So, hmm
You don't ignore it.
hmm hmm
And the for the Noble Sissle book, my other mentor, Dan Wakefield, he's a novelist with at least 20 books. And he also was a screenwriter. And so he told me that I should write about Noble Sissle because there was nothing here in this state that celebrated his life. And his former house was like, I mean, it's like 2 miles from where I live now. So, I just, you know, took on this project during the pandemic, trying to keep my sanity, and you couldn't go to too many places. And so I started it then. And then also, I've become like a champion of him in this city, because again, there's no acknowledgement or celebration of him. Um, there's no historical markers, statues, names of auditoriums, and yet his claim to fame was in 1921. He co-produced the first Black Broadway show, Shuffle Along, with his partner, U.B. Blake, who was famous already in Harlem. And also they were partners for like about business partners for like about 50 years. So recently at some book signings or events, some people have asked me if I'm related to Noble Sissle. And I said, no, no, I just want to tell his story because he made so many achievements um, for this country. He was a Harlem Hellfighter during World War One, and I think his biggest claim to fame was he helped introduce jazz to France. And here we have France's jazz is more popular there today than in the United States. So, yeah.
Yeah, we talked about that, how the European society, particularly France, and and also Switzerland and other places over there, has really embraced American jazz and always has. Whereas I don't necessarily, I don't want to call it I don't want to put that on there that it's I believe it still has strong hold here as well, but maybe it's not as celebrated in the way or revered the way it seems to be in
Right.
European culture. So,
Yeah, they seem to have more interest in the backstory, the research, and what was this musician uh, like? What was his background? And so that's what that was my goal, to share that information with people, that people just don't pop out of the womb as a as a trumpet player, and also to encourage young people to go into the music field and be successful, not be, um, you know, playing a trumpet on the street corner. be a successful international trumpet player, to be in orchestras. And so, it gives me a lot of joy to see um, high school bands celebrating the music. And so I'm working on that right now. And that's exciting to see young people and also see that they're getting scholarships, full scholarships to major colleges and also major music schools across the country. And people think that there's like, maybe 5 music schools in the country, like Juilliard or Berkeley. And there's, numerous ones that are at small colleges you never heard of that have specialties. And there are all kinds of jobs out there, technicians, engineers, lighting, performance, costumes. So, there's exciting opportunities out there. It's not like it used to be, especially with the internet and people willing to travel also.
Yes, yes. I'm glad you brought that up, Aleta, because that segues into what our continued work together is focusing on now that the physical book is now produced, which is well, all of it's exciting, but this is the really exciting part. And this is something that for listeners, especially if you are authoring or have authored a book, is the book is one aspect of the experience that we create, the content, the knowledge that we share, packaged up, in a book. But the opportunity that sometimes kind of for some people, I'm not going to say for everyone, but for a lot of authors, it sort of stops at the book sale. Once the book is available for purchase, there's really no additional other opportunities that we create for ourselves and for our readers of our work.
Right, right,
And so, what Alita and I have been working on is taking the conversation that is already happening on the subject in this context of Indiana Avenue, but also now creating a community around it, around the work, and around the opportunities that are there, as Alita's already mentioned, for young artists or people who just are just like I said, they're just lovers of jazz. They're lovers of music. They want to be involved in something that gives them a full, I'll say, a holistic experience around the,
right,
and that's what
right,
we're working on right now. Can you
right.
tell the listeners a little bit about what we're working on with the new school community that we're creating and what's happening with that?
Yes, well, it's been really um, very exciting and a joy to work with you, Rodney Washington, as a marketing consultant and also extremely creative and also someone who thinks outside the box 365 days a year.
I try. I try.
so, so um, and I just love that we have, open dialogue. We're not afraid to say things to one another or share ideas or, what do you think of this? What do you think of that? And I think that artists of any sort who create something and then walk away from it, they don't want to get involved in the promotion, the marketing. But it's your product and you created it. So you have to be some part of that continuum, whether you like it or not. And so, I had to overcome that. I was always a very shy girl growing up. And so, I had to overcome that. Um, and so, but you learn a lot. And the greatest joy is to go out and be with readers who just love your books, who are book huggers. And, I got to have that book. I want it autographed, and I'm not leaving here until I get mine. And you know, I mean that's the greatest joy that I think an author can have. And then people give me ideas for new books or new topics, and so I'm jotting those down and keeping those ideas safely away. And also by going out and being with people at presentations, I'm listening to the readers, and the readers were telling me that they wanted to know more about Indiana Avenue, even though the first book was written 9 years ago. And so these were younger readers, readers who moved here from out of state, uh, people who are just, musical or artistically inclined. People around the world want to hear these stories. And, since there's so many people who achieved international fame, it's an international, these are international books. And so, you have to listen to your audience. You're just not writing alone in some cabin or some back room or the basement
Hmm. Or
or
coffee shop or what have you, right?
yeah,
Mhm.
or an archive. I know how to do the archive thing, but I'm glad to be out of there now. I mean,
Absolutely.
it's fun. One of the greatest places that everyone who's literary can ever go is to the Library of Congress in Washington, D.C. It's just a treasure trove of our American cultural history. But you've got to get out and see what the public wants. So one of the things that we did was to reformat the books, the first edition of Indiana Avenue, into a smaller 6x9 format. And so now both books are the same size, and people see them as a set. And so then that, once that has been achieved, then people want to know, well, what's the next one? What's the next one? And that's where you're continuing the dialogue with people. And so, like I say, people give me ideas and stories, and you know I've got a list of them. So
Yes. 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 So we
but
just
but you do need to listen to your audience. And I do know some authors who've written books, and I think it was just a bucket list for them. I just want to say that I wrote a book in my lifetime. I want to share these stories with my family or colleagues or what have you. But they're missing out on the best part, connecting with people. The book community is really large and broad, and um, you know, um, a lot of people at this time, especially, need something joyful, fun, creative. Music is universal. If you're depressed, if you're feeling lonely, pick up a book, listen to some music, turn off the TV, and, just chill.
yeah.
You can go to the library and get free books. It's not no expense. It's one of the cheapest forms of entertainment. So,
And dare I say, one of the most enriching, because again, as tagging on to what you said about watching TV or doom scrolling, as they call it now, social media seems to
I
be.
hadn't heard that one.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. That I hear that one constantly. Doom scrolling, and so what I love about it, and well, I just want to stop and take a moment to acknowledge this because I want this to be a teaching moment for everyone listening. Because if you're listening to this, I mean, you could be in one or two camps. You or already have a familiarization with Aleta and her work, and you want to watch and support, but also want to just encourage some of you listening to this who, at some point, perhaps maybe we might work together in some capacity. One of the things that I so appreciate about Aleta and why we were able to work together and still working together so well is because she was in the camp of authors who want to create more than quote unquote just a book. Now, I'm not diminishing that by using air quotes by saying, oh, it's just a book, because I know how much work it takes to put a book together. And so again, with what I'm going to add on to this, to go through all of that work to put it together, to only have it live on an online platform, and occasionally someone might stumble upon it and find it and buy a copy or two of it. There's no, as the kids say, there's no shade about that. But if you want to create what I believe is, and where I feel like the greatest opportunity, yes, one of those benefits being financially, but to make a more well-rounded experience is to do just that and create an experience around the product in and of itself, which in and of itself is an experience. So
Right,
being
right.
able to take this written work that you've put together and then turn it into an experience that people can actually not only talk with Aleta in this context, but the artists that she's curating to provide access to in the community that we are creating, called the Indiana Avenue Experience. And tell us a little bit about that, Aleta, and what's happening with that, and why that was. Again, I introduced the idea to you. Maybe you probably already, because I know you do a lot of in-person
Right,
live
right.
speaking. But for some people, well, why would I do it online? Why would someone come to see it online? What was
Yeah.
your impression about that?
Well, I've been all over the state of Indiana, from um, the southernmost city, Evansville, um, down near the Ohio River, on up to Fort Wayne, which is in the northeast corner, and the genealogy center up there, libraries, sorority, fraternal organizations, and churches and schools. And so, it's just, I wanted to have something that was more consistent and that I could kind of control the environment. And so lately, these past 2 months, it's been difficult because the weather's been so bad with the storms, heavy rains, tornado watches. So I've just, don't plan on doing any more outdoor events. The last one I did, I thought I was going to melt into the asphalt. So, but I wanted to have a community. And so when you broach that idea of an online community, it's like, well, yeah, why not an Indiana Avenue jazz community and just share the legacy and celebrate all these wonderful musicians here in Indiana with the world. And so I love that it's on a global platform like school. And then school is very open and positive environment. And so under your leadership, we have a community of mostly authors, writers, and other creatives, but then there's other school members, and they also share advice. And I've never seen or heard of that online. If you can't figure it out on your own, then you're up the creek. So yeah, so I'm really glad I joined. I was referred by a friend, and so it's worked out really well. And um, we're going to have a monthly presentation, and some of it is talking about history, but it's woven history, music, cultural. It's all woven in, really the arts. music, dance, art, history, all woven together. The only thing that we don't talk about is politics, and anybody who wants that kind of news, they can watch TV.
Because there's enough doom scrolling out there that you can go do that on your own. Have
I
at it.
like that term, doom strollers.
Yes,
Doom
scroll.
strolling, yes.
Yeah, scrolling.
So,
Yes, you can go enjoy that. Well, I love that because, and I know we've been talking about and working on some really exciting experiences. And I love that word experiences because that's what they are. And how can we create that online? Now, I know, of course, obviously, in person is always going to be the preferable thing to do when it works to do that. But we have people from all around the world, there's billions of people on this planet. And even a small micro percentage of them have an interest in not just jazz, but also in music appreciation opportunities, as you mentioned a moment ago,
right,
being able to
right,
potentially have careers in the musical field. And what we're currently working on is curating really I don't know what I want to use here curating I'll just use the word group of individuals in the musical and music appreciation space, who will be also offering workshops and classes and so forth inside the community. So it doesn't just quote unquote stop at the book. The book may be the doorway
right,
into the community,
right,
but
right.
I know
Yeah,
that we've had some conversations already with two the experts that you're going to be bringing to the community. And I'm really, we've had wonderful preliminary first conversations about, extremely excited about both. And I know there's many, many more that are becoming along the way. But I'm
right,
sharing this with everyone listening from a business structural perspective as well as
okay,
from a creative and artistic perspective, is that you, us as the authorpreneur, we don't have to do the all of the quote unquote heavy lifting. We can also create a space, our own, dare I say,
right,
school,
right,
where we can have
right,
just like any other school where you hire
right,
teachers that have
right,
topics that they specialize in.
right,
And
right.
you're the principal and the board of superintendents and of the community. And so can you share a little bit just to kind of give people like a little teaser about what we've been working on with that and
Yes, we have, two, I would say, ulterior motives with our classes and workshops. And so, one, we want people to develop an interest in whatever area they want to pursue. So, they can, take an art class or a voice class. Um, uh, Instrumental class. And they can, it can be just a hobby, just something to do to keep from, going insane in this case. Or they can, pursue it if they choose um, for a skill, a career skill, and monetize it and make it into a viable career. And, I've seen a lot of artistic people who wanted to make it a career, but they were never given any guidance. They may have gone to an art school or something like that. But back in the day, they didn't really focus on how you need to market yourself, or, there was no social media. But they didn't really go into that part of it. And so that's what I want people to take away, that, you can have a career in this field. And so like you said, we have several experts lined up, and we take it for granted here in the United States that, these kind of classes and programs are available. But in many countries around the world, there's no programs like this. You could be living in a small village and um, somebody may have told you that you have a beautiful voice, but then, you would need to go thousands and thousands of miles away across the ocean and compete with people who are at a top level. Too many barriers to really overcome. So, we hope that a lot of people really take advantage of this. And, you could have been someone who was discouraged early on. And that was another thing in the Indiana Avenue book. There's stories and I deliberately included these stories of how they were discouraged or one person, David Baker, when he was at elementary school, and he was trying to play, I think, the tuba, and um, one of his music teachers sent a note home to his parents and, and told him that, he has no talent.
Oh,
He actually wrote this in a letter to his parents. And this man, he graduated from Crispus Attucks High School. He went to Indiana University School of Music. He set up one of the first academic programs for jazz because there was no academic program. You
wow.
learned it from others. You didn't learn it in school, and most of the programs in schools were classical music, um, theory, history. And so he established the first jazz program, and then he went out and around the world in the International Jazz Association. So for someone to tell him, as a 9 or 10-year-old kid that he has no talent, and then to top it off, he wrote over 2,000 compositions. And we see a lot of that, especially of people of color.
Yeah.
And, we're discouraged, we're, belittled. And so we need to overcome that. And, somebody could tell someone that and that would be the source of their depression for the rest of their life.
Yes, absolutely. And we don't know, Alita, I've heard that story from so many different people that I've heard that with, where a teacher, quote unquote, tells a child that they have no aptitude for something, or why are they dreaming like that, or thinking like that, or what have you. And you just don't know.
Yeah,
Because you think about it, this person is in a position of authority, and I mean it happens to adults with other adults too, but definitely with children. And one of the things that I know for a fact connected us so well is that I grew up, fortunate, gratefully, in an environment where music and art and theater was appreciated in the home, but also that the school system, the public school system, now I'm talking back in the 70s, so I'm dating myself, but back in the 70s literally put tons of money into theater programs and art programs. The theater that I used to go to when I was a kid, where I saw my first Shakespeare play, Macbeth, the art museum that I went to, those places are still in existence to this day. That just lit me up to see 50 some odd years later that those places are still there. And so, I don't have children or nieces or nephews, so I didn't really know. Back in the day, we had things called field trips, and um, and I didn't know that the public school system doesn't do that anymore, and that just broke my heart
yeah,
because
yeah,
I know how much impact that had on me, being a little Black kid growing up in the South in the 70s. And gratefully, I was in a town that was smaller. I was a sister. I was born in the sister city to Dallas, but that we had enough wealthy people here with money that believed in the arts and believed in arts education and believed that it could be democratized and available to everyone. So
Mhm.
for us to go see that, and I don't know what I would be today or what interest I would have had I not been exposed to that.
Right, right,
So one
right,
of the conversations that you and I had and what inspired creating the Indiana Avenue experience is in our own small way, of course, the vision is to grow this however it needs to grow, but that those kids have some place to go. Your
right,
contribution to this is some place to go to get those experiences that the school systems just don't have. I'd
right.
like to hear your thoughts about that, and
Oh yeah, with the reduction in arts, music, um, extracurricular programs, it seems like the only thing that's available are sports and marching bands. But many of the other arts programs have been eliminated. And that's I think that's another source of why we have so much violence, so much student violence across this country. And so, again, that's why we're encouraging people to join us on school and, take these classes. I mean, some of the classes are for adults, and most of them are open to anyone who's got the interest or the, talent to begin with. So, um, yeah, we're here and we're ready.
wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Well, I want to just share a couple of more things. I'm going to pop the link over the video. There's going to be a little video. There's going to be like a little QR code that'll pop up over the video where you can go to check out. Well, first of all, this is what I want to recommend all of you listeners do. There's a special page that's been set up where you can go and give us your contact information, and you will then immediately get an invite into that to go look at a sample of Aleta's book, Indiana Avenue, and also to actually go purchase the book if you wish, which we encourage you to do. It's available both as print and digital. And then also to join the Indiana Avenue Experience School community. You also want to do that because we are planning the official launch of the book and the school community. We're going to do what I'm calling a virtual block party. So think where everyone comes out, instead of us having picnic tables and we're out in the middle of the street, we're going to be online. And you'll get an opportunity to experience the experience. You'll get a chance to meet some of the our first instructors that we're going to have in the platform. You'll get a chance to maybe hear some music. You'll get a chance to uh, hear more about the book and more what went into just the history of Indiana Avenue and what's inspired the movement that Aleta is creating. So we haven't finalized the date yet as of the time I'm recording this, but the date will be coming up really soon. And we would love to have you. And your ticket for admission is just to join the community. And so when you do that, you'll be able to come and join us for that event. I'm doing something very different with this. So I typically what I do with everyone I work with, I interview them for the podcast, and this is what we're doing now. But I thought, let's make it a group experience. So everyone that we're talking to right now, that's going to be our first instructors on the platform, is going to be joining us. Like I said, there might be some musical entertainment happening. And of course, you'll have to bring your own food. We won't be able to provide that for you. But it's going to be virtual. It's going to be online. It's going to be live streamed through YouTube. So you'll be able to watch it there and invite people to come and listen and just join in. This will give you a taste of what the Indiana Avenue Experience school community will be all about. And so it's something that, again, I'm always, as Lita said, I'm always coming up with ideas. And that was one that really spoke to me. And I immediately approached her about it. And she was like, we've been together for a few months, so I'm always like, hey, what about this? And she's like, okay. And I'm like, hey, what about this? And so I'm always coming up with ideas. I think sometimes I haven't scared her away yet, but uh, but yeah.
And the most important thing about what you just said Rodney, is it's free.
Yes. Yes.
It's free. You can come to the launch, the block party. It's all free. You just sign up to be in the Indiana Avenue Jazz community by clicking the yellow button and answering three simple questions. And then, if you choose to stay longer, that's fine with us, but we're ready to rock and roll.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm so excited about it. And I also encourage you, if you're watching this from, I have a book or and I'd like to be able to develop more of a ecosystem around my work. That's my favorite word, is ecosystem around it. Not just a launch, meaning, okay, I go out and, do a big push for when the book comes out. The book is available to purchase now. But what I look at is it needs to be a sustainable long-term play that you do. So this will be the first of several events that we will do, because again, this is about creating a community. This is about creating an experience. And I want to encourage you watching and listening to ask yourself that question. This is the most important question you can ask no matter what stage of your book that you're working on, whether you are pondering an idea, whether you're in the process of writing it, or it's been published and you want to re-release it. Always be asking yourself the question, how can I create an experience around this work? How can I enlist the people that I want to reach with this work? How can I create something that they would want to be a part of? It's just great community goodwill, one. Two,
Right.
it helps, yes, it does help generate more sales. And it also helps you as the author creator, the entrepreneur, not feel so isolated in the
Mhm.
whole journey. Because
Mhm.
again, I've written books, I've helped many people create books, and it's sort of like, okay, well, it's done, it's up on Amazon. Okay, well, it's there. It's like you haven't even begun to scratch the surface of what's.
Right, right, right.
So if
And
you,
then, people are looking for authors who are connected to one another, who are connected to their readers, connected to the environment, who know what's going on in the world. If you've spent 4 years in a basement, uh,
mhm, mhm, yeah,
what do you know about the rest of the world? I mean,
exactly,
they
exactly,
don't want someone who's lived in a vacuum, or sometimes people live a rather hermetic life, and who wants to be around a hermit, you know?
exactly, exactly. Well, and as I said, we're looking, I believe that now more than ever, because of the climate that we're in right now, and especially around the arts, people are looking for alternative ways to engage and entertain themselves. Yes, a book is wonderful. A book is absolutely wonderful. Like I said, if it's in your heart to do so, do it. But always ask yourself, where am I taking people beyond this? What am I creating for myself? And I will go so far as to say this, do it for selfish reasons. Do it for certain, like, you know what? I just want to meet the people that are actually engaging with this. I want to hear what they're saying. Aleta said something early that I cannot emphasize enough is do yourself a tremendous favor. And I know with writing can be very, almost can be almost coveted to a place where we don't want to talk about, we don't want to share it. And I get it. From an energetic perspective, I get it because you may not want too many opinions or voices on what you're doing, especially when it's coming through you. I'm not saying that you have to share your manuscript and all that if you don't want to do that, but you do have to have an intended reader in mind, at least one person in mind when you're working on your work. Get in communication and community with those people as you're working on it. You don't have to share the manuscript if it's in development, but talk about the subject matter around the book. Get more of a sense of who they are and what they're interested in, because that's going to give you clues as to not just what may impact the actual manuscript in of itself, but again, that word I keep saying, the experiences that you create around it.
Yes.
And for many
Yes.
authors, we don't do that. We do in isolation. We go off into our whatever. We don't tell a soul. We keep it real close to the vest. And then we come out, I know I'm going to do the thing I've done with the leader. She sent me this a million times. We come out like in The Lion King with Simba. We hold the book up and we go, da-da. It's like no one, okay, you did a book. No one knew you. When did you write a book? You didn't tell anyone you were writing a book. you know, we have to get people interested in what we're working on as we're working on it so that you're building in. I don't say we write books, we build.
Right.
And
Right.
you build in community, even if it's one or two or five or 10 other people, you still build in community. And so if you take anything away from what I'm sharing, please take that away because it's going to make your journey to getting it out of your head and out of your heart and into your hands and then ultimately the people's hands that you're creating it for a lot more enriching for yourself as well as for them. Okay.
Amen.
All righty. So again, I'm going to post this. This is going to be up on YouTube, and I'm also in the audio iteration of this out as well. Again, there'll be links to everything in the description in the show notes for where to go and get your preview copy if you'd like to look at that first. And of course, add both books to your library, as well as join the school community where you will get an invitation to come to the book launch block party we're calling a virtual block party that'll be happening in the month of August. And even if I'll even go so far as to say this, even if you have no interest in music, how dare you, Philistine, if you have no interest in music, but you still should come anyway, just to see what it's like to actually experience, what it's like to create an experience
Right. Right.
for your for your authors. Ali, do you have
Hey,
anything?
it's better than the doom strolling.
Exactly, 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 exactly. Put down that Instagram for a minute and go look at something. Go do something fun. Alita, do you have any last words? Anything you'd like to add to or anything I didn't cover?
Um, no, I'm just excited about sharing all this music, joy, art with the world and seeing how it affects many people. I hear a lot of authors say, well, I want to see this kind of reaction from the reader, or I want to see this kind of transformation in the reader. You have no idea how your book will influence someone. You have no idea. You may think, well, if somebody wrote a book about, um, a famous person in your neighborhood or celebrity that 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 would encourage people to go into that kind of field. Um, it may just encourage somebody to get off the couch,
Mm-hmm.
turn off the TV, and have a life.
Hmm.
uh,
Exactly.
it may encourage someone to go back to school, start a new career, to listen to music more often. You have no idea until you've written the book and then later that you connect with the readers. Because sometimes people just say, well, I was always depressed about what happened to Indiana Avenue. And that has caused a lot of depression in my family. And so in my book, I celebrate the legacy of the musicians. And that gives me a lot of joy.
Mm-hmm. Hmm. Yeah, and I'll go into this in more other independent episodes of the podcast and future episodes of the podcast. But I will say this too, to kind of wrap this up, is when you are, as Alita had mentioned, several different uh, issues that the reader may be having, there's always a community or some type of organization or something that that individual or individuals that are quote unquote maybe struggling in that way, or maybe just looking for an additional outlet in which to connect as you become the author yourself, your book is an entree into those worlds so that you can open up other doors to be able to just to talk about
Right,
what it is.
right.
I'll share just one really quickly, which one really quick tip in mind. This shows you how my mind works too. When my father had Alzheimer's, and I had heard from the counselor that was talking to us that music had a way of sort of bypassing the short circuitness of what was happening in the brain. And they
Yes.
could go back and they could actually like go back to wherever they first heard that music, and
Hmm.
their whole everything about them would change.
Hmm.
And there was a gentleman in Italy that I'm not sure about this. I don't remember, but his father, I believe, was an opera singer, and he developed Alzheimer's, and it become basically almost catatonic. And he heard about this, and he took his dad to a vacant parking lot, and he put on his dad's music, and the man lit up like it was like the light switch went on.
Yeah, yeah,
You
yeah. And
know,
I've witnessed that.
yeah, and he would just is like he would go from this to just basically like you would
Hmm.
never know what was going on with him.
Hmm.
Now, how I'm connecting this to there are Alzheimer's associations and organizations. And I know, having lived that with my dad, was when you're the caregiver for someone with that, you're at your wits' end trying to figure out what to do to get some part of them back in a way that you can,
Hmm.
you know,
Hmm.
just you're just trying to find a way to do anything. So
Hmm.
imagine going into an organization like that and talking about that subject. How many more people now are going to want to go, oh, first of all, they don't even know what to think about. They don't know what to do. Well,
Right,
you don't have to take
right.
them to a concert, or like this gentleman drove his dad around a parking lot, or you can buy like a little, like a little boom box for them or something if they still have those anymore, and just load it with their favorite music. But
Hmm.
that just goes into how music is healing. Music
Right,
has healing
right.
properties to it, and that's a level of conversation that then creates content, which then leads people into
Hmm.
your community and what you're
Right,
working. So this is kind of a
right.
coaching moment for you, Alita, in this. So I'm sharing this to say this is how my brain works. But this is like think outside the box.
Hmm.
Don't leave it to, well, it's up on Amazon. They'll go find it. Well, maybe they won't. But if you've got legs and a bus pass or a car, go to where people are. you know. And
And
I'll land the plane with this. If you can find ways, this is for all of you listening who are authors. If you can find ways to help the people that you want to serve look better to their audience by serving their audience, why would they not listen to your proposal?
Mhm.
And the fact that you walk in the door with this in your hand, this is your authority. This is your authority. This is your authority. This is
Thank
all.
you.
This is your.
Thank you.
You walk in the door
And
with a piece of authority. You present them with something that helps them better serve their people. Why would they not listen to your proposal?
right. And I have witnessed that with Alzheimer's patients also.
Mhm.
They may not remember their name or their children's names, but if you turn on their favorite music, their favorite art, they come alive. And you know, it's a lot of responsibility to take care of anyone with Alzheimer's, but any source of joy for them is a true blessing. So I'm
Absolutely.
glad you were able to help your father.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. So with that said, I just wanted to, again, end it with the teaching moment, leave it with the inspirational moment, and take away from this what we talked about today, and ask yourself these questions. How can I create community around what I've worked on? Who can I align with that has access to the community that I want to bring into my ecosystem? And how can I curate an experience that is going to make what started with the book or the book could be the thing that they take away from the virtual or in-person experience that they have with you. If you do that, you will have a much better experience having been the author creator, the authorpreneur. You'll have a much better experience because you will have served the people that you created this work for at a much higher level. It's a win-win for everybody.
Yes, indeed.
It's a win-win for everybody. All righty.
Thank
So
you.
thank you, Aleta, for joining me today. It's been a pleasure working with you, and I look forward to all the wonderful things we're going to create together. And I'm going to have, again, for all you listening, there's going to be the links to everything in the show notes and the description. And if you would like to talk to me more about working together, I'll also have a link to that as well. I do have a masterclass coming up. Actually, at the time I'm recording this, I have a masterclass coming up in like less than 24 hours, but I do this masterclass on a regular basis. So you'll learn about how to maybe get on the wait list for that if I'm not already have one on the books. And if you'd like to talk to me, then I have an application you can fill out and we can have a conversation to see how we can potentially work together to get your work out of your head, out of your heart, and into your hands and pass it on to the people that you're creating the work for. All righty. Thank you all so much
Thank
for
you.
listening, and I'll see you on the next episode of the podcast.